So we really thought that by doing that we could simplify the code base that everything else had to be built on top of, and make it much faster for us to push performance and robustness in that space. We had ideas about serviceability as well, so that with Dart in the mix, maybe we could make that sort of high level changes of dynamic behavior more structured and better to understand, so people would start using that more. We just had ideas on how the web could go from being a great place for applications to being a truly awesome place. And it all, at least in our heads, right, revolved around this idea of giving it a more structured, a more useful language. So we came up with Dart, and we pitched that internally, and clearly there were other groups at Google that thought the same thing. They were building applications and they struggled with JavaScript. Google had Google Web Toolkit that had Closure Compiler, had some different options there for trying to make it more manageable to work with JavaScript scale. But they're also looking at something that were more structured, allowed them to work comfortably on very large applications. So we thought, hey, that's a good match. So we teamed up with a couple of these teams and formed a fairly large Dart team to try to build a new language like for the web. And we really strongly believed that it was important to do two things well. Build native support, like a virtual machine that really demonstrated that this could run really, really fast. At the same time, also allow this to be useful in other browsers, so we didn't get people to be stuck in, I've written this piece of code and it only runs in Chrome. We thought that was a bad thing for the web in general. So our like long-term like ideal would have been to get the other browser vendors to adopt Dart as a technology for the web and get them to be excited about this. I think the way we approached it and the way we ended up trying to convince them to do this, and clearly that was challenging to do, and I don't think we did a super good job on that. But we also, I think, learned through this that having like a healthy competition between the browser vendors and getting them all sort of excited about moving the web forward in some reasonable steps was challenging enough. Then coming in with something that looked like completely proprietary technology and throwing it into the mix and say, oh, by the way, we also want you guys to get this thing integrated into your browsers, that was just too much, I think. And at that same time, right, the whole squeeze on mobile happened. So offering a browser that came both with a JavaScript engine that like big and bulky V8 that was proven technology, and a new thing was challenging, right? Because like suddenly like you would go from having a single implementation of a language in the browser to having two, and that just comes with a big cost. And at some point, I think we realized that fight was just sort of not worth it, and people were probably better served with compiling Dart to JavaScript in context of browser. And we got some success through that. Like the whole Google Ads offering, what used to be called AdWords, it's a giant web app that is like a money-making part of Google, was rewritten in Dart, and the team there was pretty happy with that. So we found some limited success with that. But in some sense, right, we were always sort of interested in exploring the space where the Dart virtual machine technology could really shine. And we had a few areas. Server-side Dart was a thing. We had some interest in using it from the outside in that context as well. A few companies were very interested in using Dart instead of Node.js, and I think sort of we had some success there. But one of the things that's really nice about Google is that like they really want success to be not just sort of, the bar is not like sort of reasonably high, it's very high. So I think for something to Dart to really have a chance at getting sort of a long life, it had to be in a place where it added a lot of value, right? So I think we were definitely looking for places where that could work out for us.